obviously, I believe Kansas is going to be up top. Usually are. It's hard to knock off a Kansas from the equation in the Big 12, just like it's hard to knock off Duke or North Carolina out of the ACC when talking about the champion of the ACC. After that, it could go plenty of different ways. The problem is the teams that I think could be second and third and fourth and even fifth, they all seem so inconsistent right now. Baylor can beat Kentucky, then lose to Northwestern. Oklahoma State, they can go and knock off NC State, and then they'll go beat by, I know they just got beat by Virginia Tech, I think it was, or someone.
Well, it was close.
Yeah, and you're just kind of trying to figure these people out, saying, so what kind of a team are you? And so I would probably end up going top 4 or 5 is going to be Kansas. You're going to look at Baylor. Oklahoma State's probably going to be up there. You might have K-State sneak up there, and then Iowa State as well. And then you're going to have your middle of the pack team, and that's going to be like your Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's pretty good this year.
Yeah. Much better than last year.
Really improved.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're going to be maybe trying to fight into that top tier, but could be just middle.
I think you got them pegged perfectly.
Yeah, and then as far as Texas, I think they're down. I just really do. They'll find a way to get themselves in the middle of the pack again, but they'll be down. West Virginia, they started their season a lot slower than everyone else, but still got smoked by Gonzaga. So Gonzaga's good though, but. I don't know how they're going to be. TCU is going to just be a struggle for them coming into the Big 12 out of the Mountain West. Texas Tech, obviously, we know what they did last year, which was nothing. And so they're probably going to be down there as well. So I think Iowa State could be anywhere, from 3rd to 6th even. So that's probably where I'm going to be putting them. Regardless of 3rd to 6th in the Big 12, that's going to get you into the tournament again.
Sure.
And you're looking at probably a 22 and very well could be like a 22-9, like a UNI, somewhere in that neighborhood. It could happen. Could end up getting up to 23, 24 wins. We'll just kind of see how the tournament goes. But I wouldn't be surprised if we got a first round bye in the Big 12 tournament. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if we're playing as a 6th seed. So it's just going to be one of those things. As you said earlier tonight, one thing that Iowa State does, we do well, but we live and die by the 3. If you're having an off night, which we did down in Texas last year, which was a horrible game for us, we couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, you're going to lose the game even against a subpar team.
Yeah.
And we saw a little bit of that against Cincinnati. Over in Vegas, we had 22 offensive rebounds at one point and 21 defensive rebounds. So that means you're not hitting your shots.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, we're rebounding well, but we're just not hitting our shots. In terms of getting a little more into the personnel, obviously Corey Lucius from Michigan State's coming in. The guy's fast. The guy can make plays. He needs to calm down a little bit on the dribbling. Turnover prone right now. Kind of reminds me a little bit about Mike Turnover Taylor from back in the day. But hopefully he's starting to pick it up. Last night he had 17 and 9. He was 3 missed shots away from getting a double-double. Kind of felt bad for him. Chris Babb, obviously a defensive stopper that can hit the 3 once again last night. And I think more importantly, when we played BYU, they had I think it's like Terry Haas or whatever was the 10th leading scorer in the nation, 23-point-something points per game. For BYU, he kind of took over for Jimmer Fredette in that area. He had 8 points against Babb. So
shut him down.
That's what Babb does. Move to the small forwards position, and then finally you see Melvin Edgin playing his true position as small forward. He's always been power forward at 6'6" for the last couple of years. And with Clyburn coming in, he gets to go back to that small forward, and he's flourishing with about 12 a game and 10 rebounds a game. So he's almost averaging a double-double there. Clyburn kind of moving between power forward and point. The guy can dribble, the guy can shoot, the guy can pretty much do it all. Not quite the ball handler or the passer that Royce White was, but in terms of the pro potential, he's actually better because he's that Wesley Johnson type, and then you got down low, you've got our 2 bigs kind of going, Percy Gibson and Anthony Booker kind of switching minutes. Anthony Booker starts right now. Gibson comes in and plays some big minutes. Favorite guy on the team, probably by most Cyclone fans, little Tyrus McGee out there, giving his all, hitting threes. He leads the Big 12 in three-pointers right now. Second on the team in scoring as a sixth man. So, and the guy's just fun to watch. He is a motor that does not stop. And then enter our Naz Long, since Boo Boo's out. We've got a freshman point guard that comes in and plays a good 5 or 6 minutes a game, but just kind of spells Corey Lucius, and doesn't make errors, which is nice. And then the big incoming freshman that we're all looking forward to, George Niang, as advertised. His footwork down low is just phenomenal. He can pass well. He looks uncoordinated, looks out of shape. I mean, you just look at this guy and you're like, are you a basketball player? And then he goes out there and he says, yeah. He's fun to watch, and he's going to get some big minutes this year and probably end up in that 9-5-5 potentially, or 9-5-3 type of a stat line every single night. So we're excited about him. He's just a freshman, so sky's the limit for him. He needs to buy some of those hop shoes, the one big thing.
The George Costanzas.
Yeah, he needs to get something to get because, man. But anywho, that's kind of where Iowa State's at this year. Really excited about Friday. I, for one, am not a huge fan of what they changed the Big Four. I'm not a big fan of the Big Four Classic. Send us up to Cedar Falls. Send us to the Knapp Center. I'm okay with that, doing away and home. We lose to Drake. We lose to UNI on the road. That just means that we need to get better. That doesn't mean we need to sit there and say it's not worth losing to you guys. I hate the idea. It's good for Wells Fargo. It's good for the casual fan to come and see all 4 teams at once at Wells Fargo. Do that on top of playing each other on away and aways. Okay? So if we're playing Drake at Wells Fargo this year, let's go up to UNI. We play at Wells Fargo against UNI next year, well, let's go to Drake. And then we crisscross, but then they come to Iowa State. Why can't you do both?
Makes no sense to me either. Plus, it's your best gate of the year usually, especially in Iowa State football. Until the years recently, your best attendance was against UNI.
Exactly.
Usually, you wouldn't play you very well, except Chiswick was there, which was good for everyone. But no, that's the thing I don't get. It makes no sense. Is it something that Fran McCaffrey really kind of brought to the forefront? Was he didn't want to play him anymore. What got me about that is what he said at the time was he wanted his schedule tougher. They just lost to UNI, who was top 5 in RPI and strength of schedule at the time, and replaced them with like Campbell State or Campbell Soup, Chunky, whatever.
They lost to them too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those. I think it's almost trying to become a money grab of sorts, where everyone gets one here in Wells Fargo, but I don't even see where you can make that much more money either.
I completely agree. I can't imagine that bringing UNI to Carver did not help sell that place out.
Yeah.
I don't know about that by Iowa standards, but I will say from Des Moines, it's a huge. Someone in Des Moines has got money and is lining some pockets.
Could it also be a chance that they're trying to debut this so we get a tournament game for the women's eventually?
Absolutely. And the women's tournament in Des Moines last year was a huge success. It was a huge boon for the city. The whole economics of it all.
The problem is we can all sit here and hope that sooner or later we get an NCAA first, second round type action, okay? And yes, it would be awesome. The problem is, and this is usually the problem with Des Moines, is they're like, you know what, we need to do this so we can get to here, okay? The problem is they follow through with that plan to get to here, but then all of a sudden that starts to show up when it's already in the mix, and they're like, ooh, we need to 16,100 for a basketball game should be good.
Yeah.
No, spend the money, get to 18.5, and we're not even in a discussion on whether or not they're going to think about hosting it. We're going to host that damn thing. You don't stop 2,000 seats short of what usually the minimum is for the teams that are already holding these games or the facilities.
Absolutely.
What are you thinking?
Especially when Omaha was just building one and they could have used that as a blueprint.
Yeah.
St. Louis.
I was dumbfounded when they stopped, and I'm looking at that place, and maybe they left room for expansion. I don't know. I'm not an architect.
I don't know where it's at.
No, they don't. They don't have enough room for expansion. They can't get to the 18. I know people in the know down there, and they can't get there.
Well, and so, in my opinion, dumb, stupid, dumb.
Yep.
And I would tell the guy to his face, whoever did it,
Yep.
I'd be like, you know what? If you had great grand plans for this place because it's a state-of-the-art facility, which it is, you screwed the pooch by not getting over 18, because that's what you needed to get to.
Much nicer than Dayton, which hosts every year. I've been to Dayton. Dayton is an absolute joke of a place hosting it. Imagine,
But it's
well, we went there. Imagine if Wells Fargo Arena was built 500 yards past the West Mixmaster. That's where Dayton's at. They got two major highways meeting right here. You're trying to get off. Semis are trying to get on the freeway right here on a Mixmaster. That's where they built it. Parking sucks, therefore. The arena has no atmosphere whatsoever. It's basically like you meld the worst parts of McLeod Center with the worst parts of Wells Fargo Arena. You've got the Dayton Arena. And they host every year. So I've heard complaints about there's not enough, what's the word I'm looking for? One thing, Dayton did have plenty of hotels around there. I've also heard every time you come in here, the other players complain, there's not enough to do around here, blah, 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 blah. You got to find a way to keep that out of the press. Because they hear that. And that just makes Des Moines even worse. Because I think Des Moines gotten so much better than when I was in high school.
No, and you're completely right. And I think that you made a good point. What's the nightlife like there for and that's a big situation.
Yeah.
And I think Court Avenue has done a great job of cleaning itself up, giving itself a facade of, hey, come down, have some fun. We're not just a bunch of kids or a bunch of hoodlums or anything like that. We've got nice restaurants down there now. We've got the casual, goer but one thing we have to do, and they are starting, because now they're getting a new hotel down over by Principal Park now in one of those buildings. But they need to get more hotel rooms too. So if you build it, they will come. Problem is, you didn't build it enough.
Didn't build big.
You didn't build big enough, and so they're not coming. And as soon as we found out that we may have made this too small and they may not look at us, then the great grand huge hotel that was supposed to be across the street from Vets and then that area, well, that got shot down because we found out we weren't going to get the games.
Yeah.
So we just got shot in the foot over and over again. You just kind of think of, who made these decisions back in the day.
This was the same city council years ago where Court Avenue was down. Court Avenue was supposed to be like this about 15 years ago. We were supposed to get a Sega game where it's and all this. I remember as a kid, I'm like, yeah, arcade, awesome. And they didn't, because one thing they couldn't agree on, they spent city councilmen or after city council meeting was arguing over which kind of brick to use.
Yeah.
I mean, they worry about the wrong details. Wells Fargo Arena should have been built 2,000 seats bigger. That's a big reason why they haven't had it. That, and I don't know. It boggles my mind because Wells Fargo is an absolute beautiful arena. Just from if you're coming and record it, there's drops everywhere for your camera.
Yep.
There's high definition filter. We don't have a high definition big board yet, but from what I understand, that's probably in the works down the line and all that. But I mean, you go to Energy Games, it's not a bad place.
I enjoy it there. I think the venue is awesome. It does you just kind of sit there and you kind of wonder yourself. We built the principal tower here in Des Moines. 2 years later, what did Omaha do? They built their tower, and I think it's 2 foot higher. They just wanted to get 2 foot higher. That's all it was. I mean, that 2 foot doesn't do anything for them, except for the ego.
Yeah.
And then we have a chance because we were after Omaha, correct?
As far as I know, that Omaha was.
So we have that chance to go back to Omaha and be like, yeah, remember when we were supposed to build those 2 skyscrapers and you went 2 foot taller? We're doing 2 seats bigger, or 200 seats bigger,
2,000 seats bigger, maybe 20,000.
Yeah, do something, and to be honest with you, the arena would have been a bigger overall
you don't
for
think
the
they
town than the skyscraper would have.
Don't think Bon Jovi can sell those seats, or Bob Seger, Taylor Swift, any of the country acts. I mean, it's such a big country venue.
Yeah, I'll never understand it. But once again, I'm not paid to understand that stuff. I'm just paid to sit, to do this.
Yeah.
To do what we're doing right now.
That's right.
That was a good discussion on
Absolutely.
the Big Four, man. We really got into that.